Thank you, Chair Niels, Ranking Member Carson, for putting together such an important hearing. Welcome, Administrator Bedford. We are so excited to welcome you to this post and would love to invite you out to my district at some point to see some of our FAA assets that we have out there. Before we get to that, Americans are still reeling from the president's historically long government shutdown, second only to the last shutdown that occurred during his first term. The pain of this shutdown was felt keenly by the traveling public and hardworking aviation professionals. Unfortunately, not only did our air traffic controllers miss paychecks, but Secretary Duffy threatened to fire air traffic controllers for calling in sick, and the president toyed with the idea of holding back pay to federal employees, including air traffic controllers. We all know that we have to boost air traffic controller recruitment to right-size the workforce. But I'm concerned about how poor morale will hinder these efforts. And I'm wondering how you might continue to work with this committee to ensure that towers are properly staffed. I have a very specific question for you. I'm not asking you to opine directly on whether those actions were right or wrong, by the secretary or the president, but do you have concerns about how Secretary Duffy or President Trump's comments might impact air traffic controller recruitment efforts specifically?
Well, thank you for the question. And without opining one way or the other, I can tell you that the FAA will work better if government continues to be funded. So if I could encourage you did ask my opinion, so I'll share it. If you ask me, the default position for if you don't like the current budget should be the current budget just continues, right? And we can.
And I agree with that, but specifically, I'm asking whether you think the threats from Secretary Duffy or the president will impact the FAA's ability to recruit and have impact on the morale of air traffic controllers.
So as I said in my opening remarks, the FAA was shorthanded prior to the lapse in funding. No one can argue that the lapse in funding was anything other than painful for those federal workers who were called to work without pay during what turned out to be the longest 6-week shutdown in history. I don't think anybody's happy about that, and nobody wants to see it happen again. But we do have an obligation to come to work. That is part of the obligation we take as federal workers. I work without pay for 6 months. Nobody enjoys that. Sorry, six weeks.
Yeah. Felt like 6 months.
And it's illegal for our controllers to have a job action. We saw 2 facilities at the very end of the lapse where we had ATZ 0 because none of the controllers showed up for work. So we do have to ask some tough questions about, was that a job action? If it was, it's just not, that's not tolerable. So I think there is an accountability. But overall, yes, culturally, it's difficult to get the kind of engagement that we want when we can't pay people to come to work.
Absolutely, but specifically about the threats to fire people if they are sick. I mean, people get sick during a government shutdown, threatening to fire them and making people afraid, forcing them to potentially come to work when they're under the weather. Do you think that has an impact on morale?
I think that's a mischaracterization of what the Secretary was referring to. When we see facilities that go ATZ 0 staffing,
I think he specifically threatened to fire people if they did take sick time, and the president also threatened to withhold back pay. And the question here is whether you think that has an impact on morale. I've certainly heard from air traffic controllers directly that it has, and I'm curious if that's risen to your level. I know that you share our concerns about making sure we want to reach the appropriate levels of staffing. This is truly a matter of public safety.
Yeah, so clearly the FAA culture needs a reset. And one of the ways we can do that is talk about how can we support our people, hire the right people, hire the best people, give them the best training, give them the best tools. And that's what we're focused on doing right now. We're moving into the future. I think it's bright. But look, we have to perform. As a management team and as leadership, we have to deliver on the vision.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're willing to work with you there on all fronts. I agree that government shutdowns are disastrous. We are going to work and do everything we can here to avoid them in the future, but we also ask for your partnership in doing everything we can to boost that morale and make sure that people feel safe in their workplace as well. Before we go, and my time is running out, I do want to reiterate our invitation to have you come out to the district. We have a wonderful air traffic control tower that is in desperate need of replacement. Gerald R. Ford International Airport would love to talk with you about making sure that we can keep this on track. It has been a number one and number two priority for the FAA. Can the FAA commit to providing GRR with prompt information so it can proceed with construction procurement about the status of the air traffic control tower there at GRR?
I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. We need funding. We need more investment across the national airspace system. So you're not alone. I have family in Grand Rapids. My dad's family's from there. My mom's family's from there.
Fantastic.
I'd love to give Senator Peters his tower before he leaves.
Yep.
We need funding. If you can help us out on funding, we'll get it done.
We do. Well, we invite you to Grand Rapids. We'll get Senator Peters out there as well. We can all get lunch. Thank you. Thank you so much for what you do in your service to this country.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. And
Yield
for
back.
the record, a Republican on the Senate side wanted to pay the ATCs, pay all the air traffic controllers, pay all the federal